Are there any lessons that perhaps both the European Union and even Ukraine could draw from the experiences of the countries of Central Europe? Again, we are in the capital of the Czech Republic that joined the European Union in a big bang enlargement of 2004. So what we haven't addressed yet is whether Ukraine will need to join alongside other countries of the Western Balkans. And what we haven't yet kind of explicitly addressed is the question of sequencing the enlargement. Does the EU enlargement, should it follow after NATO enlargement, or could the EU expand first? In the case of the Czech Republic, of course, the NATO enlargement took place in 1999, and the EU enlargement 5 years later.
It's very good and very complicated question, and I think the sequencing will depend in some ways on how quick Ukraine is at proving that it is meeting the benchmarks. One thing, since you mentioned learning from Central Europe, one thing that I think is important for people to keep in mind is that when Central Europe started the EU accession process, they had much younger democracies than Ukraine has right now. They sort of started much more from scratch. The economy was not reformed, was not a fully capitalist economy yet. There was a lot of intertwined reforms. What people don't realize is that Ukraine has been trying through conditionality to meet some of the European Union benchmarks since 2014. So they already have 8 years under their belts of trying to harmonize legislation, institutional building with the European Union. So I think that puts them in a slightly better position than the Central Europeans to join the EU. But the security situation, of course, puts them in a way more complicated position. And the timing of it is much more complicated than it was in the late 90s and early 2000s when the relationship between Russia and the West was better, Russia was weaker, etc.
We don't know the future, right? But I would like to end by asking you, what is your vision for Ukraine in Europe? And what do you believe might be feasible, achievable in terms of integrating Ukraine as a member of the European Union? And I would normally say as a full member of the European Union, but with your bus metaphor, when and how will Ukraine get on that bus?
I think Ukraine already is on the bus because it got membership. It got a membership perspective. It's a candidate. How long is that ride going to be? I think it's going to be shorter than people are right now projecting. I think it's not going to be decades, as they say. It may be possible to do it within the decade, within the next decade, if both Ukraine and the EU do their homework and really put a lot of focus into reforming both the Ukrainian state and the enlargement process. I think it is feasible.
Professor Popova, thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you.